So, how good of a woodworker are you? What is your skill level? Does it even matter? Well, if you're trying to do this professionally, yes, it matters. Hello, my name's Roger Kugler. This is Working at Woodworking Podcast, where my goal is to help you, the skilled amateur, DIYer, weekend warrior, to develop the skills to take your love of woodworking to the next level. That's right, professional. Now, I'm not necessarily meaning quitting your job and, putting your financial house at risk, but maybe just doing some furniture repair. Somebody at the office wants a bookcase built. Someone needs a small table. These are well within your skills, but you just might need a little help on the business side of that. And that's what we're all about here at Working at Woodworking. Now, before we start this episode 92, what is your skill level? A few shop notes to take care of things. A special shout out to James for the coffee. Really appreciate that. And James also added that he's exploring the wonderful world of furniture repair. Oh, sure. Building furniture is so cool. Everybody wants to do it. But guess what? If you need a steady income, there is more furniture out there that needs repairing than there are people out there looking for custom furniture. And besides, where do you think you get your customers for the custom furniture from? That's right. Very often this starts as a repair of something that they already own. They're impressed with you. They're impressed with your skills, your shop, and this leads to commissions. I also want to ask you a favor. I have signed up for some advertising, and this is all done behind the scenes with the host where they insert ads into my podcast at certain breaks. I don't exactly know how all this works. It's like magic. What I'm asking of you is if you find these things to be annoying, please let me know. The money is not all that important. Every little bit helps, but I would rather have a good, clean show that you enjoy than to, sacrifice this to the money gods. And I'm here announcing episode 93, Listener Tips. That's right. I want your best woodworking tips, whatever it may be. It might be a favorite tool. It could be, finishing tips, sharpening tips, business tips, how to get along with difficult customers, horror stories you may have had. I want to hear from you. Now, no pressure, but you have 10 days to turn these in to make episode 93. If you're a little late, that's fine, because I think we're going to probably end up doing this as maybe a regular episode. So, there you go. That's all of shop notes. On to the episode. You see how I'm leaving these breaks in here so that they can insert their ads if they need to? Yeah. So, what's your skill level? And this is something that I literally made up over the last week. This is not documented to my knowledge. It comes completely out of my sawdust-encrusted brain. Take it for what it's worth. But I've broken this down into 5 different levels. Level 1 is a person who verbalizes, "Oh, that's nice. Where can I buy it?" Someone who's not really a woodworker, but they see something in a magazine or on Pinterest or the great internet, and it's like, I want that. That is really cool. But they have absolutely zero desire to make this themselves. They don't have the skills. They don't have the tools. Not going to happen. They want to buy it from someone. Why is this even a skill level? Well, these are the people that can keep us employed. These are people who like wood. These are the people who appreciate wood enough to bring us furniture to repair, which could lead to new commissions. They love wood. We love wood. Let's all love wood together. Ooh, I'm kind of thinking of some Bob Marley right now. Yes, they're not really woodworkers, but they're wood lovers, and we've got to appreciate them. Skill level number 2. This is a person that when they see something, they respond, "Cool, it comes in a kit." All parts pre-cut and drilled. Some assembly required. Can everyone say 1, 2, 3, IKEA? Yeah, it's what it is. It's furniture in a box, and we put it together. Actually, the kits that I was thinking of is that little birdhouse that you put together at summer camp that one year and then painted it purple for some odd reason. Everything was pre-cut, pre-drilled. You put the nail in this hole and you nailed it to here. Nailing, that was a new skill for you. But these are kits. Now, I just did a simple Google search, woodworking kits, and you get the normal things. A lot of kids' kits, airplanes and tugboats. And this is wonderful for kids. I mean, it actually lets them use their hands to build something, which kids are pretty good at doing. But I also came across woodcraft. Do you know that you can buy a bow back side chair kit for $300? The ad text says, "Fantastic project for learning how to build a chair. Museum quality reproductions. Parts have been meticulously prepared and holes pre-bored. Kit takes approximately 10 hours to assemble. Wood species. Spindles are hard maple. Seat is poplar. Bows are red oak." For $300? Yeah, that's not bad. And literally all the parts are already done. All the spindles are turned, the seat spindles are carved. I mean, it looks like it's basically sanded. You put this thing together and you do the finish. They also have a small heritage table, 30 by 48, knotty pine for $600. These are 4 table legs, aprons, and the top. Maple is $725, red oak $900, cherry $1,200. And these are turned legs, not just square or tapered. And under the apron, there's a small bead. They actually look pretty decent. It's honestly something that I would, design and build. There's other benches and chairs on here. I'm actually very impressed. If you have a friend who's been thinking about maybe getting into woodworking, this could be a really good avenue for them. I mean, it's kind of instant gratification because you're assembling and then finishing. They get that pride of makership. I made this myself. Well, actually, I assembled it myself, but you get the idea. It's the same way as there are project classes where you can go someplace for a week and build a chair. Of course, you're really learning some more of the skills there, but it's still the same thing. You're kind of getting people hooked on this woodworking thing, by actually completing a project. People, it's like, wow, you made that? Boom. So that's level 2. Level 3. This is the person who exclaims, "Great! I found the plans!" These people need a set of plans to make something. And that is certainly in no way belittling anyone for buying store-bought plans because, we make our own plans. But here someone is going out and buying something that somebody's already done. I'm amazed at some of the YouTubers who sell plans. And there's one YouTuber who shares his income that he gains, from his YouTube channel. And his income from just selling plans? Very impressive. Maybe that's something I ought to get into. I am getting a little long in the tooth. Now, some woodworkers have a bit of a stigma about buying plans. Is it wrong to buy plans instead of doing it yourself? No, not at all. We are simply trading resources. I will give you my resource, money, for your resource, plans. It's quick, it's easy, it's practical, and you don't have to slave away countless hours at the drawing board or develop a unnatural love affair with your computer mouse. There's no prototyping. There's no test pieces. All of this has already been done for you. For a small price, of course. So why don't we all just look for a set of plans and build that whenever a customer asks us for something? It's not custom. And we are trying to purvey custom woodworking. So if you go out to a customer's home and you measure, and to get a bookcase to fit in this space, it needs to be 56 3/4 inches wide. Good luck finding a plan for that. Now, you might be able to find a plan for a 60-inch bookcase, and you can modify it, do the math. But what if you need a set of plans for a bookcase that fits into a bay window? One of those like half hexagon windows. The corners are like 135 degrees. Yeah, good luck finding that one. And the second reason that we don't typically buy plans is copyright. You can buy a set of plans for a widget, and let's say you want to make 100 of these widgets. Read the fine print, because very likely that plan has been copyrighted for single use, one-time use, or private use only. So if you start replicating these things based on the plan, that can get you into a little bit of a gray area, legal area. You start to get lawyers involved, and that's usually not a good thing. No offense to any lawyers. If it's something you really want to pursue, well, talk to the designer of the plans. Maybe you can work out some type of licensing agreement. Maybe pay royalties on this. Or what's very often done is you modify their design. And there's an old adage out there that, if you change a design by 10%, that skirts the copyright of that particular product. Well, yeah, maybe kind of. That gets into the legal stuff that the lawyers end up fighting over. And there's also just good old-fashioned plain marketing. Marketing will almost always overpower ownership rights. If you have a patent on something and you don't defend it, it can be proven in court that you have abandoned the patent and somebody else can take it over. Oh, this gets really, really deep, and literally lawyers, this is their profession. This is what they do, patent law, and it can get really, really deep. And of particular note to woodworkers is there is a doctrine of common use. Somebody will try to patent something as their own, but if you point out that that's already been done, you're not special, and this is not patentable. I remember one case, well, it's been probably a decade or so ago, of a person who was trying to patent a technique for building canoes using veneers. And let's just say this person didn't know a lot about boat building, because that technique has been used for over, I think the earliest example was around 1880. So there was nothing new under the sun there. That didn't go very far. Level 4. So someone hands you a picture of something. You look at it, said, neat design. What type of wood would you like that made out of? When I'm talking to a client, I ask for pictures. What is in your mind's eye? What do you want this to look like? And if they can, show me a half a dozen different pictures of something, then I can use that and then come up with my own design that will fit their needs perfectly. Show me a picture, I can build it. This is where you really need to be if you're trying to do this professionally. You have the skills of design. You have the kind of the vision of turning one thing into another. You have the design skills, the knowledge of joinery, of materials, some basic understanding of engineering, force vectors. You know how to build something to prevent a 3-year-old from totally destroying it. You actually can build a 56 3/4 inch wide bookcase without plans except for the ones you draw. And if you are a little weak in this area, I would recommend listening to episode 72, the design process, where I go over each step of how you go about taking something from a picture or sometimes even just talking to a person into a set of drawings that you could then present to the client, get their approval, and then proceed to build it. This brings us to level 5. I'm thinking of creating something that ... Congratulations, you have arrived at level 5. This is where you're just thinking about a design for something and then just doing it with a lot of drawing on napkins and grid paper and so on and so forth. But this is where you're talking to the client in their home and you're just noticing different things in their home, the type of trim molding they have, the colors that they use in a room. And you come up with this design that they just absolutely love. A lot of this is playing 20 questions. Now, if you're thinking, there is no way I could do that. Yeah, you're already probably doing it. You don't need to be famous or infamous or even well known. You, at your level of skill, you have a workshop out in the garage. You have already started doing this. Have you ever walked out into your shop and decided, I need to build something to store my cordless drills, my hand planes, my extensive sandpaper collection, my Festool collection, or, well, the tools that I use every day that are well worth every penny I spent on them because they are great tools and I am so much more efficient with them. Okay, don't worry. A lot of us have the same problem. And then you just build it. You think about it a little bit. You might not even write anything down. Well, maybe you'll grab a scrap of wood and kind of figure this out and that out and how that could fit into here and how much you have to take off of that. And you just build it. No store-bought plans, no pictures. You just came up with this yourself. Congratulations, you're a level 5 woodworker. Now, if you can design and build the next great American novel, a wood sculpture or piece of furniture or a rocking chair, that's really, really good. So what level are you? How do you get to the next level? That's easy. You work, you learn, you study, books, magazines, YouTube videos, classes. You've heard me harp about taking an art class. Yes, that can be incredibly valuable to you. But most importantly, you need to build something. Do you know what children have that we as adults don't have? Think of a kid at a magic show or maybe a chemistry demonstration. The magician pulls a rabbit out of his hat and the kids just go crazy. Or you pour vinegar into a bowl of baking soda, the old baking soda volcanoes, and the kids just cheer. But what do they say right after that? Do it again. Do it again. What do adults say? Wow. Cool. What else do you got? No cheers. And maybe some applause. But no one's shouting, do it again. This is something the kids have that adults just simply do not possess, most of us. Kids learn through repetition. And here's the kicker. Adults learn through repetition. You want to learn how to drive a 6-penny nail into a 2x4? Buy a pound of 6-penny nails and drive them all into a 2x4. Yeah, maybe a little boring, so do your initial in 6-penny nails. Repetition. That's how we get good at something. And for some reason, adults just totally flub this up. I don't know, maybe it's Burger King. Have it your way. Now. But we just don't like repetition. You want to be really good at hand-cut dovetails? Make hand-cut dovetails. This isn't rocket science, people. The guy that you really admire who can cut dovetails in his sleep? Yeah, repetition. Over 20 or 30 years, you can compress that learning curve. If you made one dovetailed corner every day for 1 year, guess what? You would be pretty good at cutting dovetails. Frank Klaus tells this wonderful story. When he was a teenager, he had this was back in Hungary. He had a crush on a neighborhood girl, and he wanted to impress her, and he wanted to make her a jewelry box. And so he went to his grandfather, who was a cabinet maker, and asked, will you teach me to make a jewelry box? And the joint of choice was dovetails. So he taught Frank how to make dovetails. The way he did it, he said, go over and get a board that's about 10 feet long. Okay? Cut that into 4 equal pieces. He says, I'm only going to show you this once. And he showed him how to cut a dovetail. He said, now you do that. All 4 corners, bring it to me. And Frank did it. And he looked at it. His grandfather said, these are pretty crappy dovetails. Cut these off. Do it again. And he said, by the time I got that 10-foot long piece of board down to about 3 inches on the side, I had made some pretty good dovetails. So there you are. If you are a level 3 and want to move to a level 4, build something. Just get into it and keep working at it. You can plug through this. Every new job, every new build is a new adventure. You're going to learn something from it. And don't expect this to happen overnight. This can, literally, it will take the rest of your life because we're always learning. There is so much stuff that I want to get into, veneering being one of them. I just have not made the time to do that. But there is always something new to learn, some new skill to practice. Stay with it, keep plugging, and you can do this. Some news items in woodworking. Consumer Product Safety Commission will institute everyone must buy a saw stop. Say, what? Okay, this comes from Matt over at 331 Woodworks on YouTube, and he did this very good video explaining how the Consumer Product Safety Commission, that's the one that we talked about with the child cabinet tip over thing, don't kill children with your cabinets. The commission is taking on table saw safety. The number of people who are injured with table saws that, don't have riving knives, don't have splitters, don't have blade guards, don't have some type of overhead shield, and is not a saw stop. he does a great job of explaining kind of the backstory and the mid-story and the forestory, what's likely to happen, kind of the way things are moving. In maybe 3 years, you're not going to be able to buy a table saw that will cut your fingers off. There will have to be some type of flesh sensing device that prevents amputations. Good thing, bad thing, let's not open that can of worms. They said that they think that they can keep the increased cost down to around $300, maybe $400. That if you think about it, you can't even get a ride to the hospital in an ambulance for that amount of money. So just keep that on your radar, and we'll see how that all develops. Missed jobs, tabletop glue-ups. I had a customer call me up. They had harvested a tree off their grandfather's property and had to wood mill it up, and it's dried for a couple years, down to 12%, and they would like a tabletop made out of it. I'm not going to do that job, but I did kind of help the owner, a young man, consider doing this himself and, kind of get into woodworking. He does some construction right now. I think he could do it, but he just had a lot of questions about, planing and getting square edges and doing the glue ups and the moisture content and so on and so forth. That's something that I honestly get requests for quite often. And I always refer to a gentleman that I fear may have retired. I've got to make contact with him to verify that. And under the section, boy, am I dumb. The wonders of negative pressure. Now, my shop is attached to our home. 1.5 car garage. I'm not sure how that works. And that's where my shop is. Small shop, about 400 square feet. And I have used oil-based products for, the entire time that even before I was doing this professionally, I would still use oil-based products. And yes, the house would stink. It was often that we would go out to dinner, after I got done varnishing something. We might go catch a movie, just to let the house kind of air out, particularly in the winter. In the summer, it's not a big deal. You can open windows and kind of ventilate, but in the winter, it doesn't work so well. Now, years ago, I had installed a gable-end fan up in the attic. And that was one of the very best things I had ever done, because I made a port, a hole that I could either take vacuum out of the attic in real hot days. It starts cooking up there. I can ventilate the attic and it actually cools the shop down. If I'm not quite watching the steak as much as I should be and it gets a little smoky in here, I can open up a far door in the living room and turn on the gable vent and literally ventilate the entire house in just a few minutes. It's worked wonders. So glad I did that. Finally, it dawned on me while I was varnishing a canoe that dead of winter, don't want to, heat the outside, but if I start ventilating the shop, but only leave the port open about, 30% or so I'm not taking a full suction on the shop and not opening up any other makeup air, I'm actually taking air from the house and pushing it outside. What does this do? This creates a negative pressure in the shop that does not allow the vapors and the fumes from the varnish to migrate into the living space. OMG, why has it taken me so long to figure this out? this is very applicable to a lot of you who actually work in your home, your living space. My mother, when I was a kid, would get so upset when I'm varnishing something down in the basement because those fumes would just come up through the floor and she would get, a little cranky. But if you can create a negative pressure airspace in the shop to ventilate those fumes out, they'll never seep into the living quarters. Wow, I wish I had figured this out literally decades ago. So remember your tips. Get them to me in about the next 10 days. Then we can get them into the process and I can get them all recorded. I think it's going to be great fun. And as far as recommendations, I included the link for the 731 Woodworks and his explanation of the U.S. government is about to change table saws forever. Special thanks to listeners in Louisville, Kentucky, Dublin, Ireland, and the one listener in Morocco. If you'd like to support the show, you can always buy me a cup of coffee, link in the show notes, or make a direct donation via PayPal on the webpage workingatwoodworking.com. I am available for coaching at very reasonable rates. This seems to really pick up in March. I did more coaching in March last year than any other month. So if you've been thinking about this and you just need a little nudge, just something to kind of go over, just some basic questions you're not sure of, give me a call. Let's set something up. And if you listen to this podcast on Google, which you can't anymore, but that YouTube podcast thing is working really, really well. So you can check me out there. Until next episode, happy woodworking.